I do believe that our diversity is our strength, and I thank all of you for helping us create a government that is far more diverse now in our state than it was 4 years ago. I'm talking about people like the 143, including many people in these rooms who are serving, Latino men and women that are serving on important boards and commissions, those that have served on the school board, planning, and judicial nomination commissions. I'm talking about Tom Perez, who was our first Secretary of Labor Licensing and Regulation, is now a Deputy for Civil Rights at the Justice Department, where I'm sure he is helping the Obama administration fight the fight against wrong-headed laws like the ones that were passed by Arizona to make people feel unwelcome in our country and have to carry their papers. I think our government has a responsibility to secure the borders, but I don't want my children growing up in a country where anybody can ask them if they're carrying their papers with them. You know, that's a step in the wrong direction. It's a step back, and it's not the sort of country we aspire to as Americans. We have our diversity is our strength. You see that not only in the appointments on those boards and commissions, appointments in the cabinet, including Alex Sanchez, our new Commissioner of Labor Licensing and Regulation, but you also see it in the first 2 Latino Marylanders appointed to the district court in 12 years. And you also see it in the fact that even in the toughest of times, in the middle of a recession, we have been able to increase the dollars that are going to Latino-owned businesses under our MBEWB program. Get this, 123% increase over these 4 years, which is 77 million more state dollars going to Latino-owned firms in our state. I'm going to veer a little bit from what I usually share, because I want to talk specifically about what Javier touched on, and that is the hate that's in the air. And I'm a student of history, and I keep on my desk in the governor's office an old sign that says on it, "No Irish need apply." And I always kept that sign on my desk when I was mayor as well. And it is there as, I guess, a reminder that at one time, unless we were Native Americans in this country, all of our forebears were at one time strangers in a strange land here in these United States. But it is because of new Americans that our republic becomes reinvigorated every generation with hope, with hard work, with optimism about the future. Now, it is also true that throughout our country's history, when we've experienced times of economic contraction, that those who might have been here on earlier boats blame the people who just got here for economic woes that were never of their making. That happens. It happens throughout the cycles of history. But the hopeful and optimistic fact is that love and understanding, compassion, and a belief that we are all in this together always triumphs over nativism at the end of the day. And that is something that we should all applaud for. Look, recently in the city of Baltimore, we have come off of now 10 years of pretty steady violent crime reduction. We're not done, but we have made a lot of progress. So far this year, 145 people, though, have lost their lives in Baltimore. Far too many. And one of those people was Martin Reyes, who was murdered by a schizophrenic man. He was a Honduran immigrant, playing by the rules, doing all the right things, and yet he was murdered by a schizophrenic man who suffered from mental illness, apparently, but who had this irrational rage and hate towards Mexicans. I guess he didn't ask Mr. Reyes whether he was Honduran or whether he was Mexican. I mention that case because I know how that has struck everybody in this room. And that gentleman might have been mentally deranged. He might have been suffering from a mental illness. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people who don't suffer from mental illnesses who spew that hate, who put it out in coded words and fashions. And the fact of the matter is some of them have last names that begin with an MC. Some of them believe, and some of them begin with an O apostrophe. And I can't change that. What I can change and what you can change is the outcome of this next election, though. This is a contest between moving forward or moving back. And in a larger sense, it's a contest between a very narrow-minded view of what America is, can be, has been, and should be, and what we know, that what we want our country to be as we move forward together. You know, we beat Bob Ehrlich last time around by 6 points, 6 percentage points. And in 2008, the number of people who voted in the election who identified themselves as Latino Americans was, guess what? 6 percentage points. So you do the math. You do the math. New Americans can be the difference in this election in Maryland. You can be the difference. This is going to be a very, very close campaign. One day polls say we're 2 points up, another says 2 points down, sometimes 3 up, sometimes 3 down, sometimes tied. Look, we have 66 days to win this race. And at a time in our country's history when our faith in our public institutions and our public leaders has never been lower, people's reliance on the word of their neighbors and people who are involved and know and whom they trust has never been more important. So we did a number of pictures. I'm glad to stay and do more pictures, but I need you to put those pictures on your own Facebook page. I need you to communicate with your friends that, in fact, under O'Malley Brown, appointments are up, diversity is up, MBE awards are up, and in fact, that this is an administration that embraces our diversity as our strength, not an administration that says that diversity is bunk. One of the questions I ask all over the state, and I'm going to wrap up, I promise. One of the questions I ask all over the state is this. I ask people for a show of hands how many people believe that they have enjoyed a better quality of life than their parents and grandparents have enjoyed. And virtually every hand goes up. But when I ask the second question, how many of you believe just as firmly that your children and grandchildren will enjoy a better quality of life? There's a lot of hesitancy, a lot of fear. In fact, I asked that at a Democratic dinner in Frederick, and not one hand went up. Interestingly, though, when I ask that question of new Americans, almost every hand goes up. When I ask that question of younger people, regardless of their ethnic background, almost every hand goes up. What we are confronting right now is actually bigger than Bob Ehrlich. It is that fear of fear itself that we might be the last great generation of Americans that can pass on a better way of life to our kids. And I don't know any other way to confront that fear of fear itself that is better than making progress in our own time, in our own here and now. Not putting off hope into the future, but believing in hope in the present, and more importantly, making progress happen. Let me share just a few quick things with you. Look, because of our beliefs, we know there's no place more important or powerful in our state than a family's home, and there's nothing more important for protecting that home than a job. And I've got some good news for you. In the state of Maryland, thanks to the hard work of many of the people in this room, we have now had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 months in a row of positive job creation. It is a rate of job creation that is actually 3 times the national rate of job creation these last 5 months. And it is twice what our neighbors in Virginia have been able to do. Why? Because in Maryland we move forward, not back. In the toughest of times, we are actually going to come darn close to hitting our 25% MBE WBE goal. The latest count was 24.82%. Of the way there. We've had that goal for a long time. Never hit it before. In the toughest of times, we're hitting it now. Why is that? Because in Maryland, we move forward, not back. I want you to sing along with me when you get the hang of it. Together, thanks to courageous law enforcement and police officers throughout our state, we've driven violent crime down to its lowest level since 1975. Because in Maryland, we move forward, not back. While other states have been pushing people off of health care rolls, you and I together have extended health care benefits to 200,000 people that did not have them before. Half of them are children who had no choice about their parents' income eligibilities. Because in Maryland, we move forward, not back. The waters of the Chesapeake Bay are cleaner now than they've been at any time for the last 6 years. And a blue crab population that was about to implode a few years ago tough decisions. We stuck to them, joined with our neighbors in Virginia. That blue crab population is rebounding better than the most optimistic scientists could have predicted. And why is that? Because even the blue crabs know that in Maryland we move forward, not back. Which is very hard for them because they're accustomed to moving sideways. Look, I need your help in this campaign. We are making phone calls every week. Early vote begins every night. Early vote begins this Friday, but we make phone calls during the week. We go door to door on the weekends. We put up the signs along with the door to door. Do not underestimate your power in this election. Yeah, I need your help. Every single vote counts. It might come down to just one vote. It might come down to just one vote. So please, reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your family. Let's keep growing this organization larger and larger. If our stories taught us anything, I believe it's this. That, we can have our fear, or we can have a better future for our kids, but we cannot have both. And it's time to choose. I choose and you choose to move forward. I choose and you choose that better Maryland, that Maryland we carry in our hearts, that Maryland that is open, that is accepting, that understands that our greatest strength is our diversity, a Maryland that believes in the dignity of every individual, a Maryland that believes in our own responsibility to advance the greater good, and a Maryland that believes in the words of Frederick Douglass, that we are one, our cause is one, and we must help each other if we are to succeed. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. I just want to take a minute to